Let's continue with our monitoring of major routes. The Border Management Agency is redirecting its focus to the Groblersbrug border, located just outside Lephalale. It's a vital connection point between South Africa and Botswana. Now, this adjustment comes in response to heightened traffic volumes, largely driven by the Kazangula Bridge, offering an alternative pathway to Beitbridge. In fact, the BMA is intensifying its activities at Stockport, where the Botswana bus involved in last week's tragic accident was destined. Let's get you a sense of what the situation is looking like on the ground. Bring in our reporter, Katlego Nyoni, who's been watching developments for us. And Katlego, of course, you are stationed at a very important artillery between South Africa and Botswana. What's your sense of how busy that route has been, even in just the past couple of hours?
Well, hi there, Ayanda, and to our viewers as well. Yes, we are at Stockport border, just outside Lephalale here in Limpopo. This is the border that the 45 ZCC pilgrims were processed. We are with the Commissioner of the Border Management Authority. Thank you for your time today. Just take us through your role as the BMA.
No, thank you very much, Katlego. Maybe the first thing to start is just to indicate that it was on the 28th, on Thursday, the past Thursday, when the bus arrived here at Stockport, port of entry from Botswana, on the way to Moria. As we always do when such buses, we call them conveyancers, arrive at the port. What we effectively them to present with us what is called the passenger manifest, which is a list of all of the people that are actually in the bus. And on that particular manifest, we then allow the people to get out of the bus and present themselves before the immigration specialist to be processed. So all of that process actually did take place on the day. And of course, all of the people that were in the bus were properly processed, including the driver. So in that particular process, all of the people were the bus had all the requisite documents, the passports, and they were therefore processed successfully into the country. So on that particular basis, we obviously keep the passenger manifest within the port as the bus actually departs. And all of those people and their passport and their names are also recorded in our movement control system. So to that extent, they indeed come through into the country. They ended up at R518, and the intention, I suppose, was to join N1 and go over into Moria, as it were. As part of our plan, we did expect that because of the opening of the pilgrimage, as it were, there is going to be the people coming from some countries here in SADC coming over into the country. So we did expect that, hence we were able to process them. So immediately after that, we ultimately, when we heard about the unfortunate incident, we had to then present the list to the Department of Transport as well as the Department of Health.
Now that list, that passenger manifest has been supplied. Do we have any idea at this particular stage, Dr. Masi, about the numbers of the buses that used the Stockport border post to access South Africa, destined, of course, for the church?
No, you see, on that particular date, fairly, it has been only that bus and some of the smaller vehicles that came through into the country. And most of the people really who use Stockport port of entry are people from Botswana who are going to Lephalale for buying groceries and all of that. So that is the majority of the people that come through into South Africa through this particular port. It is not a busy port, by the way, and I can also indicate that between the port on the Botswana side to a tar road is around 15 kilometers of gravel road. So it is not necessarily a user-friendly environment, but of course that bus ultimately came through this particular port. But generally, we deal with very low numbers. Most of the people from Botswana, they use Groblersbrug, and through which they use the N11 going towards Mokopane, as it were. So it's not much traffic this side anyway.
And that is the role the Border Management Authority is playing. Let's speak now to the return leg following the Easter holiday. What are the statistics currently in terms of the number of people or vehicles that have been processed across the busiest ports of entry?
No, maybe, Kat, let me indicate that the return leg actually is starting today. So as we speak now across all our ports, across all the country, we are still to be processing the people as they come through into the country. And on that basis, in terms of the actual statistics for the return leg, we will be able to start providing that from tomorrow. So as we will be going to Groblersbrug now, after here in Stockport, we are going to literally see the people as they are coming through. The key role that we are going to be doing, obviously, is to make sure that the people who are coming back into the country do have the requisite document and no one comes into the Republic illegally. So I did meet with the Port Management Committee yesterday of the entire team that include SAPS, the Defence Force, SARS, as well as all the relevant traffic authorities, including cross-border road transport agencies. So we are very much ready to start handling the return. But for now, the statistics we do not as yet have, because we are still to process the people as they come through. The only statistics I can refer to, Kat, was just the exit phase. So the exit phase, we can agree we have successfully processed all of the people. A typical example, at Libombo, we processed around 71,000 people that left the country. If you look at Beitbridge, we processed around 67,000 people that left the country. At OR Tambo, which is our leading airport in terms of air, we processed around 101,000 people. In terms of sea, it was the port of Cape Town where we processed around 19,000 people, and most of those people were going through the cruise ships. Now we are in the second leg. We are starting it today, which is now the return, and from tomorrow we'll start to give the figures as to how many have we processed today. We will end the return leg on Thursday.
Have there been any acts of illegality that you've been able to intercept as the Border Management Authority? What measures did you deploy to make sure that there is no illegal cross-border migration?
You see, because all this while we've been handling with the return leg, Kat, there has been very little issues regarding issues of illegal migration, because in the exit phase, there is not much. However, there are some people there and there who came to the port, who have been in the country illegally, who did not necessarily have the documents. So for such people, we process them as self-deportees. So they are themselves. On that basis, we take their fingerprint, we declare them undesirable, and we exit them, as it were. The biggest issue is now with the return leg. The return leg is where we are going to start dealing with a lot of illegalities around issues of immigration, illegal migration, and we do have the deployment ready to be able to deal with those issues.
Dr. Masiapato, thank you very much for your time. And that is the Commissioner for the Border Management Authority, Dr. Masiapato. We are 9 kilometers away from the Stockport border post linking South Africa and Botswana. This is the border post that was used by the passengers who were destined for the ZCC St. Agnes Church in Moria that crossed at the Stockport border post. Of course, they were processed, and that passenger manifest has been provided to officials from the Department of Transport. We know that investigations following that deadly accident are still continuing. Dr. Masiapato adding there that it is not really a busy port of entry, and that as the Border Management Authority, they are still currently conducting their return leg following the Easter celebrations. Ayanda?
Yeah, an info-packed crossing there. Katlego Nyoni, thanks very much indeed for that. Katlego's live to us there from Lephalale, as you heard, at the Stockport border post. We'll continue managing the different artilleries in and out of South Africa, as well as the intra-provincial travel, of course, with many people heading back home as we wind down the Easter long weekend. But when we come back, we'll stay in Limpopo for you, tell you about a community that's had to rely on an unsafe drinking well for decades. Do stay with us.
Is your budget showing signs of strain? The solution is simple.